Hey, all right. We are live. Welcome to the inaugural. I say inaugural, assuming we keep doing this, but even if it's the only one we do. Oh, I can hear myself. Hold on a second. Okay, I had the stream playing in the other window. But yeah, welcome to the inaugural episode. It may continue on and be a thing. Got Gabriel with me, Slick Dissident, and later, not too long from now, Gordy will be joining us. He's running a little late. He's doing family stuff, which is more important than Marvel movies for sure.
Definitely.
But what's up, man? Gabriel, you recovering well from last night's Weaving Spiders Welcome extravaganza?
Oh yeah, man. It was such a great night, and I ended up having all kinds of weaving spiders dreams.
Me too.
Oh yeah, it was. It just never stops. It's because we didn't seal it with number 63.
Completion never happened.
We haven't hit completion yet.
Hey, so what's up to everybody in the chat? We are doing a movie analysis. So if you have seen this movie, great. If you haven't seen this movie and you don't care that it's going to get spoiled, that's great. I don't blame you if you don't go out and watch a Marvel movie. It's really, we're here to like look at the symbolism, maybe reveal some things about certain symbolic characters or archetypes or gods or goddesses that could be of interest, even if you didn't see the film. But you can always pause it and come back later after you've watched it if you want. The movie we're talking about is Eternals. And yeah, Gabriel, what is your intention behind doing this? How did we even get the idea to start this little movie club?
That's a good question. Well, it probably comes from.
I think it was Gordy's idea.
And it may come from finding out that the tarot is so significant to the Avengers in the first place. And I would even say for me personally, it goes back to the moment that I realized that Jack Parsons' birth name is Marvel. He was Marvel Parsons, and that tripped me off to realize that the elites are using these childhood stories to kind of weave reality and fiction, and for that matter, also to keep very ancient stories alive, so that we don't forget, and we can continue to relate these archetypes of consciousness and pass it on to the next generation.
Shannon LeGros wants to know in the chat if we broke down the Matrix movies. There is a Weaving Spiders episode where we talk about Matrix 4.
You're right.
But yeah, the Jack Parsons is someone I haven't done a deep dive on, but I did know that factoid. Very bizarre. Mm-hmm. And the history of comic books and superheroes is also equally bizarre. I believe the DC Comics line, it originated as a money laundering front for the mob, something like that. I'm pretty sure I read about that in Chris Knowles' Our Heroes Wear Spandex. So if you want more information about that, go check, or just any of these topics, go check that out. Because this is a particularly good movie to start a project like this because of the fact that the Eternals in this film and from the original comics are characters that are said to be basically godlike, immortal, and that their presence on Earth is what inspires the idea of gods and goddesses in general throughout all the different cultures where they share similar conceptualizations. Of course, we know that they're leaving out the most important origin story of these heroes of all time, which is Skyclock. Really, I mean, when it comes to gods and goddesses. But it's a weird, like, sort of meta idea, because now in modern culture, as Chris Knowles' book title says, our gods wear spandex. And so we have turned from the traditional pantheons and that type of ideal towards basically worshiping the silver screen and the Captain Americas and the Spider-Man and Superman and Batman. And it's bizarre because they started out as such light and almost one-dimensional characters, and over time through they even give the comic book history different ages, like Golden Age, Silver Age, Bronze Age. I have a poster, actually it's like a wood print. It's like painted on wood. It's kind of cool. Of the cover of the issue of Spider-Man that is said to initiate the Silver Age, the fall from the Golden Age, which is the issue where Gwen Stacy is killed by the Green Goblin. And it's the first time in superhero history that the hero dramatically failed and like a main character and love interest is killed, and it's like dark. And ever since then, oh my God, there's some really bad spam in here. Someone with a wrench. Watch out for that shit. Please take it out. Anyway, that was like the slippery slope towards heroes that become darker and darker. And one thing that we'll talk about from this movie is how a main character who was meant to be originally a heroic, look up to Superman-esque type, becomes the de facto villain. And
Yes.
I think there's a lot more reasons to that than maybe are on the surface level. But yeah, your thoughts on everything I just ranted on. We're kind of circling a little bit while we wait for Gordy to join in. We'll start talking about the movie proper soon, because I'm sure he can jump in and catch up to what we're doing easily. But yeah, I mean, we're just hanging out. There's really no wrong way for this to go. This is a loosey-goosey approach, but we do have a lot of screenshots and notes, and this movie was chock full of interesting symbolism in the obvious and in the background. So yeah, anyway, let me kick it to you.
Yeah. There is some very interesting shifts in the story in this new incarnation. I actually, strangely enough, stumbled upon an old Eternals comic book that I had, and I skimmed through it, and it's a very interesting plot line. There are, there's some gender switches going on. The Makari is a male in this version of it. And in the movie that they just released, Makari is a female. Also,
is Makari the one with the super speed?
You got it.
Okay. And they made her deaf too.
Yes.
One of the things about this movie that is glaringly obvious, and I have nothing against anybody in any certain specific demographic, but it's glaringly obvious in this film that they were going for the Minority Diversity Day achievement point, right?
Yes.
With the casting and with certain things like making a character deaf. Again, nothing wrong with the character being deaf, but it's bizarre how Disney has taken it upon themselves to be the champion of representing everybody's various flavors of not being a straight white male. I don't want to like poke any hornet's nests. I'm not hating. It's just obvious what is being done, and I don't see it as being particularly helpful. Like, but I don't know. Maybe it's because my race and gender is so wide, and sexual orientation and all that is so widely represented in movies that I don't feel like I'm missing out. I don't know.
Yeah, I totally hear you, and I agree. I'm not dogging anybody either, but I have this term that is coming around. So we know that Hollywood and Disney are the propaganda arm of the military-industrial complex, and so in that light, there is a term that I've been trying to get in people's ears, and that is weaponized virtue. And that is definitely an agenda that's on the table. So when we say these things and point out these facts, we're not hating. We're just bringing to light that there is an agenda behind this. There are people who want you to pat yourself on the back to such a degree that maybe you kick the leg out of your fellow man. So
yeah. So as we go, if we point out anything on sensitive areas like sexual orientation, gender, race, what have you, we're just making observations. That's all it is. Just making observations, not passing judgment. If we're passing judgment, we'll be clear about it.
Yeah. Good point. And there's another point from going from this old story to the new one. And I'm not fully fluent on the whole arc of the Eternals by any means.
They were one of my least visited families of the Marvel universe, to be sure. This was all quite new to me. The Eternals that I knew of from more modern Marvel are a different cast generally.
Yeah.
They're kind of like X-Men. There's a bazillion of them.
Okay. Yeah. Well, the leader of the pack is called the Prime
Eternal.
Eternal. In the comic books, it was the male figure who we'll probably talk about a lot more, Icarus. He was the leader of the crew, and in the film, he is not the leader. He's second, third down the totem pole, and Ajax takes that position. And
It's just Ajax with no S. It's AJAK, I believe.
All right, Ajax. Yep.
But it sounds like Ajax.
Yes.
Which is a mythological character.
Who is a male. And so Ajax, who would be a male even in Greek mythology, is portrayed with a female in that role in the movie. So there is a considerable amount of gender switching going on throughout, from even the Greek characters to modern, as well as the original Eternals to now.
And it's easier to do, I think, because most people visiting the theater for entertainment night are not probably well versed in the Eternals. Even someone like me that has a ton of Marvel trivia up here, like plenty, more than average. I'm probably got to be in the top 5% of human beings with Marvel trivia. I won't say I'm the highest, but and I even don't know a lot about the Eternals. So it's easy to make these switches. It's not quite as maybe outrageous as Thor becoming a female, which did happen in the comics, actually, not that long ago.
And, while we're talking about the military industrial complex, which I call the MIK, I don't spell it with the C. It's an MK, military complex, as in MK Ultra. It's a lot of mind control and steering your thoughts. Should we bring up that the Wikipedia that indicates that where they were shooting the footage?
Yeah. I mean, do we need to bring it up, or can you just kind of go over that for us? You can bring it up on your screen share if you want to.
Okay, let's see.
Because that's kind of your observation, and it ties into some work that you did a while back.
Yeah, this is literally setting the stage for the story to unfurl here. Am I seen? There we go. Nice.
Yep, we're on here.
Yep. So essentially, one thing I picked up on is this name here, Kaz Firepo, is very much a alchemical name, indicating fire, flame, the empire. These
Isn't
cults.
there a Po dynasty in ancient China?
Interesting. Yes. Nice. And that's another thing that we should, I didn't think about when I read this, but there's maybe the military industrial complex is more international than we think when we hear the term. But
oh yeah,
right, yeah,
it came from the East. It's like that's where their big bosses are. Always been that way.
Yep. So this point really stood out to me because when I saw the film, I had La Palma on the mind. That event, La Palma, had gone down in middle September, maybe the end of September.
Summarize that for people that are forgetful.
Yes, because it didn't get proliferated very much. There was a huge volcano erupting on an island in the Canary Islands, and it was mostly of concern for people of Spain because that island, La Palma, is a province of Spain, and people were really worried about it. It was a big deal in their country. And the volcano was immense. It was incredibly large. And there was some dogs were stranded on a roof, and the people were going to send in a rescue mission. And overnight, somehow the dogs magically disappeared. And a large banner was put out that said the dogs are safe. And it had the A-team, had a signature from this mysterious vigilante dog saviors came and saved the dogs in the middle of the night. And we went in on that with the Weaving Spiders back when it was current. And so that was just really profound.
And you have videos on it too. But what did we find out about the A-team? Remind me.
The A-team, the signature that they left, it actually had a constellation.
Oh yeah,
of dots, And so I tracked
Yeah, like
the,
on the banner, there were just some random dots on there, and
yes,
it would have gone unnoticed by most people that looked at it. But you have pattern recognition like nobody else, and you're like, those dots mean some shit.
yeah. And I went and I found Alpha Centauri, and Alpha Centauri has exactly those dots lining up perfectly. So there's your A, your Alpha. It's also right next to a constellation that corresponds with a compass, telling us that these guys are they are uh, astrological star magicians, so to say, that they use, the stars for their encoding. That was a really fun weave that we did a while back, right when La Palma was a thing. And, Jim was putting forward a lot of videos on the possibility of a collapse where part of the island would essentially implode and generate a tsunami, a tidal wave. And the tidal wave would have the potential to wash over the east coast of America and maybe wipe out the stock market and give us a big reset and put us all on Bitcoin. It was quite the plot. And then we find out that not only is that possible, that was a plot line to a video game many years ago, and that they edited that part of the plot out of the video game, but it was still available for us to look at. So it was a big to-do in the time that it was happening, but the mainstream wasn't giving it the attention it deserved. That was, you had to dig to find it. So when I watched this movie, I could not stop thinking that this movie, which was made years before La Palma, was foreshadowing the La Palma event. And one of the parts of that weave was La Palme, which is the yod.
Yeah. And so to kind of fast forward to the end of the movie to where this connects, near the end of the film, a giant god hand comes out of the earth, out of a volcano in the Canary Islands. Now, it's not said that it's the Canary Islands in the film, but you dug that up on the Wikipedia page that's where they filmed it.
Yes.
So yeah, giant hand, a palm, a yod. That's what's actually in the background here on the stream.
Yep, there's the fingers of the yod right there. And it says in the Wikipedia page that they were in the Canary Islands shooting this for years before the La Palma event actually happened. And I'll just point this out
too. That is so wild, dude.
Tidal wave. It's a tidal wave. So
stop.
Yeah.
Don't stop.
Yeah, so the yod is it's proliferated in so many ways, and the reason why that is they're putting a claim, they're putting their mark. It's like tagging, and they are telling you that they are the hidden hand, and the hidden hand is everywhere. You got those, Napoleon and all those fools with their hands in their shirt saying we're all in one big club and you're not in it, and even 9/11. I've said this 1,000 times, but the 9 to the 11, it skips the 10. Well, that is a hidden hand. The hand is hidden.
Yeah, yod is 10 in Hebrew. There you go.
Also, the other one, this is great. In the original Matrix Part 1.
Real quick, what was the video game? Eric in the chat wanted to know. What was the game that had this plot about the Canary Islands and the tidal wave?
I'd have to maybe get that to you in the Telegram afterwards. I'd have to dig into the Weaving Spiders, or Jim. Jim knows. Maybe if Jim can shoot us a update on that if he's listening.
Yeah, Eric, ask that question in the Weaving Spiders chat, or tag one of us in it for later investigation. Maybe someone can research that for us.
Yeah,
it's in the chat right now, and come back and let us know. Yeah, it'd be great to crowdsource that.
Yeah, nice. Good call. So another great example of the yod being put, the hidden hand being put in plain sight, is in the very first Matrix, where Neo is at his desk at work, and he gets a delivery. And the delivery guy approaches him from behind, and you can see Neo's hand is on his mouse, and his other hand is not seen. But the delivery guy, his hand is seen. So you have these two corresponding hands, and it has to do with mind control. The hidden hand is basically them saying, we make people do this, but our hands are clean. You can't track it back to us. And that symbology is a whole nother show. But
these characters, the Eternals, represent the hidden hand quite well, because they're like secret gods directing the course of humanity to a degree.
You're so right. Yes. So when Neo gets the package from the delivery guy walks away and says, "Have a nice day." And Neo looks at him, and there's this awkward pause in the film, and you're like, "Well, that seems significant." And it's HAND. Have a nice day.
I remember that
So,
from your video.
yes, there's a hidden hand right there in plain sight. So they're putting their claim on the whole film. And so, yeah, that is a very ancient society, and it kind of proves what every conspiracy theory is trying to tell everyone that thinks they're crazy is, yeah, it is one big club, and it's been around for hundreds of years. You think anything has changed? Yeah. So there's plenty of Yod as we go into this film, all throughout. And the fact that it the fact that it all culminates on location in the Canary Islands is the hidden hand telling us that they run shit to the extent that they can, even bring volcanoes into being. And that probably comes from the fracking industry, underground tunnels, underground domes, deep underground military bases.
Speaking of a Yod, aren't there 10 Eternals at the beginning of the film? 10,
yes, sir.
Which is Yod.
Yes, sir. And I've got a big decode on that with the 10 concentric rings, 10 emanations. This is an ancient mathematical equation that, do you want me to bring that up? That's probably, we're primed for that. Let me see.
Sure, yeah, man. You let me know. I'm kind of scrolling up to some of the things that you put in the Telegram.
Yeah. So here is, I'll bring, am I seen?
I can pull it up right now. Here you are.
Nice.
The MCU.
Yeah.
Wow.
So this is, Marvel Comic Universe. And I just want to prove that this
or Marvel Cinematic Universe, either one.
Yep. And this has perfect correspondence to MK Ultra. And when you go to the septenary cipher, you can see that a C equals number 3 and a K equals number 3. So they are not only phonetically interchangeable, they are alphanumerically interchangeable with the septenary cipher. And they all add up to a Yod. And there's your hidden hand. Same thing as have a nice day. It's hidden. It's out there in plain sight. You got to do the work, the legwork to find out that they are the same. And so next to this, I have put the Tree of Life out for us to analyze, because we have the 10 characters, and all 10 characters are going to fit onto this Tree of Life later. And I've put a lot of thought into it as to which character goes in which position. Oh, nice. There it is. So, and I might not be 100% right. When you got to get these, 10 things with high accuracy, there's some room for error. But I put them in my best guess of what it's called, a sphere of the Sephiroth.
Yeah, this is good. Maybe this is something to return to later.
Yeah,
and look at it after we've kind of talked about some of these characters more.
Yeah,
I'm already looking at the Binah for Cersei character, and makes a lot of sense, just because she's the beautiful character, if you will. But I could also see a switch between her and Thena.
Yeah, I do too.
Switch, because Thena's also got the Angelina Jolie, she's supposed to be a beautiful thing, and is a warrior, physical martial warrior. But Cersei does take the role of the leader, which is traditionally the masculine role. So Binah is the emanation of beauty and masculinity. Kind of interesting that it's both.
Yes.
And it's also understanding so it has a lot of some symbolic meanings to it. But let's hold on to this and make sure that we come back to it after we've had a little bit more analysis of the film itself. And I bet we'll see Gordy pop in anytime now. But I'm going to keep this open on my own screen over here, just to see if I catch your reasoning as we go.
Yep, I like that switch that you're talking about too. I've thought of like 2 or 3 switches where I'm like,
oh, you know what? I already mixed that up. Binah is not beauty. You had it right. Tifereth is beauty and masculinity. My bad. So
Okay. Yep.
Bina is in that spot. I'm sorry. Binah's understanding or wisdom.
Uh-huh.
No, Chokmah's wisdom, Binah's understanding.
Nice.
Been a while since I touched up on my Kabbalistic tree of life, obviously.
Yeah, and it was fun to make that because it helped me kind of deepen my understanding of it. And having Athena in the middle, this is kind of worthwhile to say. What really tipped the scales for me to choose to put Athena in the middle is that Athena is the goddess of was originally the goddess of wisdom. And then there was a fall of Athens, allegedly, and she became a goddess of war or strategy. And, big up to Occult Priestess, if you're listening. She brings forward the fact that the Estregas, the Etruscan witches, they venerate Athena in a major way, and that the owl is a nice symbol of Athena in that wisdom. And I always point out that
the owl's name is Glaucus, also, which means glaring.
Interesting.
And that has a lot to do with the idea of the Watchers, actually.
Nice.
Because there's some languages where like glare and flash and light kind of have similar meanings. I'd have to go back and dig through Sabak. He's inconvenient work because he doesn't have it digital. So you can't like word search on it.
You got to put legwork in.
But glaring has something to do with Watchers, for sure, as it conceptually.
Yeah.
And dragons or Dracos,
right,
in Greek.
So ultimately, that strega component is super important because I always point out Athena the owl has 360-degree perspective because it can spin its head in all directions. And that's where strega and strategy are very much in correspondence. To have the wisdom, to have strategic thinking is very much a strega trait for that lineage of mystical arts, we'll say. So putting Athena in the center, she has the 360-degree of influence, much like an owl can spin its head in perfect circle. And this is where Gordy just comes walking in.
Yeah, if we talk about owls for a minute, I'm sure he'll pop in during that. So there's an owl constellation in the middle of Scorpio.
Oh, cool.
Called Noctua, which I think corresponds to Our Lady Athena, for sure.
Noctua, that's neat.
Now, Athena is also Minerva, and she's the Virgin. Also, that's another important thing about her. And so it's a strange thing. She's not a virgin to bloodletting, but she's a virgin to sexuality, and you have that Eros, Thanatos dualism there.
Yeah, great call. Yeah. Also, I always point out that Crowley, he has the owl in his name, very, very glaringly obvious with that one. And I do believe he was seeking out Estrega lineage in some of his mystical adventures. It was a priority for him to have somebody who was trained in the Estrega arts. I think that was for his when he did the pyramid mumbo jumbo.
Yeah, so there's also let's just start kind of getting into the beginning of this film, because it's a 2.5 hour movie. I'm sure we don't have to go beat by beat through it, and a lot of that movie is action sequences, and in terms of analysis, they're not that important. They're kind of like the filler, if you will.
Yeah, good point.
But the movie begins, with your classic text overlay where they give you a creation myth. And I'm sure just in this one paragraph, we could talk about a few things. In the beginning, before the 6 singularities and the dawn of creation, came the celestials. Arashem, the prime celestial, created the first sun and brought light into the universe. Life began and thrived. All was in balance. So right there, you know, you have the son of God, basically, because he's like the chief god. So the son of God is the sun. It's like they're telling you right there, right at the beginning, that this is,
Mhm.
you know, just like all the other creation mythologies, if you will. And Arashim will probably have a lot to say about that character as we go, and maybe we'll hold that thought. Do you think the six singularities are a reference to the Infinity Stones from? You think that's
Yes.
what they're referencing? Because I'm thinking about the hex. I'm thinking about the hex because if you the six singularities makes me think of the hexagram because we're talking about the yod and the yod representing God, the 10,
Mhm.
say 10, the demiurge architect character. And the important thing about the 10 is the Pythagorean tetractys, which is where we get the tetragrammaton, which is you could decode out of tetragrammaton, the all mother father's magic of four in that
Nice.
word.
Nice.
So in the tetractys, it'd be nice if I pulled up an image of that, but maybe I should. But there's it's basically a Pythagorean concept where you remember those games that you'll see at like a Cracker Barrel or restaurants where they have the triangle with the holes in it and there's like golf tees and
Yep.
you're jumping over your golf tees to play? That is a tetractys, actually. It is
Nice.
1, then 2, then 3, then 4, and it
Right.
adds up to 10. Now, if you look at that, I'm going to I'm going to source an image where you can see the hexagram clearly. There's a hexagram in the middle of this tetractys, which is the 10, which is
Nice.
the yod.
Yep.
So give me a
And
second and I'll pull that up.
all right. And hexagram. I was bringing this up in the Telegram today with everybody. That hexagram is a H to the G. There's a Mercury carrying a message, much like we were doing the I Ching last night in the beginning of the show. And that's at the gateway, at the threshold. We were bringing the Mercury in the picture.
So here it is, the tetractys with the hex in the center.
Wow. Nice.
Maybe that's the six singularities. I don't know. It also looks like the Triforce, kind of.
Yep. Good point. Yep. Also, what they tell us is a toxic waste or a radiation symbol in there.
Oh, yeah. Good point.
Yep. Yeah, that a lot of that goes into some of that John D encoding. Snake Jones, he dropped some video on John D and some of their codes and their obsessions with the 3 that becomes the 4. And I got one here to share while we're talking about that 10. Can you see me?
Yeah, we're up. Yeah, it's up now.
Okay. So this is the 10. This is called the 10 emanations. And this is not easy to find online. This
Maybe our next movie will be the 10 Shang-Chi and the 10 rings.
Right. Yes.
Because this is 10 rings right here.
Here it is. Yeah. And so this is an ancient, we'll just say Kabbalistic practice of mathematical overstanding. And what you do basically is you make these, and this is, Masons have the compass, and they are very practiced in making this perfect circle, the concentric perfect circles. And what you do is you number 1 through 10 going out, and then you number 1 through 10 going in. And you can compare the relationships between these numbers on the rings that they share together. In their relationships, highlight very quickly orientation of 9 as the differential as you step down from 101 down to 92. That's a 9 number difference. From 92 down to 83, it's a 9 number difference. So there's a pattern as you step out or in from these 10 rings. And now over here in the red, I've simply added them instead of subtracting their cumulative value. You just add the numbers and you always will get 11. So every step has an 11 relationship and a 9 relationship. And you will notice that these two columns make twin towers. These are two towers. And what is missing from the middle is the missing hand, the hidden hand. And one more really powerful point about 10 emanating rings going outward in concentric circles is those are the centimeters of dilation for birth. 10 centimeters, it's actually 9, but the 9 or 10 centimeters of dilation are required before a baby is born. So this has very powerful prime, this is the prime creator, the prime, it's eternal. This is the prime eternal.
Wild. Yeah. And okay, let me pull that first screenshot back up. And I think Gordy was waiting for me to send him a link. He didn't realize I had it in our little private group, but he should jump in any second. I just texted him. Oh, wrong one. Okay. So Arishem or Arishem, I want to point out just a little bit of the symbolism in the name of this character, and we'll probably find screenshots of him later. He's the guy that's behind me.
Nice.
With 6 weird eyes. There's the hex again.
Yes.
And anyway, Ari, it has a lot of meanings. You brought forward the meaning of Aries, Aris in Latin, but in Hebrew, Ari is a lion. So there's our Yaldabaoth lion Demiurge character.
Sweet.
And Shem, in Hebrew, is a word that means a name of renown, basically, to put it simply. It's a man of renown. It's what they called the Nephilim, the giants.
Yes.
They raised a Shem, or they raised a name, basically.
Yeah.
But if you believe, who I don't really like personally, the Zechariah Sitchins, I think that was kind of like a parallel or false rabbit trail, a black pillar of the day. But he would say that the Shem means like spaceships. But I think that the traditional meaning and the Bible concordance of Shem makes more sense here. He's like the high one. He's the revered lion of God in a sense, or it is like the God to these eternal characters. They're celestials and eternals. Right. Yeah. So there's that.
Yeah. And it's like that image behind you with the 3x3, the 3x3 magic square is the prime magic square. It's the first one. It's the you can't do a 2, but there are no 2x2 magic squares. So the very first magical square is a 3x3. Gordy!
Welcome, dude. We thought you'd show up when we were talking about Athena's owl, Glaucus, but we're a little late. So we have, just to catch you up to where we're at.
Yes, please.
We have we've gotten really far into analyzing the movie. This is where we're at.
The very beginning.
The very first scene, the very first still image that opens the film. We talked about all kinds of Kabbalism, mostly Kabbalism and numerological mysticism, and a little bit about associating the characters to the tree of life. But I was kind of dancing around it, and it's easy to keep this going in these subjects, but waiting for you to really get into the meat of talking about the film. And so here you are. We were just talking about Ershem and the meanings of the parts of his name, and I think Gabriel was going to reveal to us what Aries means in Latin.
Yeah, that was that just kind of came across my radar in the last flow state. I put in ARIS into the Google Translate for Latin, and the fundamental translation is altar. And there's a lot to that. But then it had these little less common translations, and one was green dragon. The other was dragon root. And that sent my imagination just all over the place. The Green Dragon Inn is where the founding fathers are said to have plotted the Revolutionary War. They were up in the Green Dragon Inn in Boston, I believe, and they all were drinking out of a silver gilded punch bowl that was made from the skull of Blackbeard.
And then in Arishem, there's an anagram. I know you love anagrams, and I just did this one on my own without, Google anagram solver.
Uh-huh.
It's got Ares him in it.
Yes.
So
Interesting.
Yeah, this character Arishem creates the Eternals, and you find out he also created this race of evolving predators called the Deviants, which are the antagonists to the Eternals, our heroes. And so this basically it's a perfect example of the duality of the Demiurge, if you will. Creates both good and evil come from it, and he pits them against each other for the evolutionary process to advance the cosmos. I mean, basically the background of this character is that he creates suns, like actual suns, and he's responsible for the lighting up of all the universe. And so to do that, for some reason, you have to impregnate planets with the celestial seed, and the planet becomes a cosmic egg. And then after a long enough time has passed, and for some reason, it requires intelligent life forms to exist on the planet at a certain number and level of advancement. And somehow that allows this celestial that's sleeping dormant and growing inside the core of the planet to emerge and hatch out of the planet, destroying it in the process, but birthing a god that can then go on to create suns itself. And so it's like the ends justify the means in a sense, and it's okay to destroy one planet if you're going to create something that can give life to many more. You gotta break a few eggs to make an omelet type of thing. But just in that concept, there's a lot there, and we might revisit that because it's like this doesn't get revealed at the beginning of the film. But since we're talking about the Celestials, I find it, as someone that's deep into the cosmic egg gravy, I find it very interesting that this is such an important part of the backstory.
Now you guys have seen the themes of the Celestials being kind of brought in a little bit from all the other little, like Dormammu. Thank you.
He's a Doctor Strange villain, right?
And, right. Yeah. So Dormammu, and also Ego, the living planet that is in
Guardians of the Galaxy.
Guardians of the Galaxy. Yeah, right. He's his father, right? And they give him a human body in this, but in the comic, Ego is just a planet. He's just a conscious planet, like a Gaia, but of a different planet.
Nice.
So there's a consciousness of the planet itself that they kind of touched on in Guardians, but not really. But each one of these Celestials are kind of like
is Galactus a Celestial from the Fantastic Four?
I was just thinking that.
So yeah, I believe Galactus is of the same. Dang man, it's been so long. I need to go back and
I'll just
those. But
I'll just do a quick search on that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're giving us like a lineage.
Exactly. They're showing, and I'm thinking that Galactus is one of the earliest Celestials.
Okay.
I could have the mythology wrong, but
he's from
Galactus is not a Celestial. I just Googled it. So Celestials are birthed from the center of planets after feeding on the growth of intelligent life for hundreds of years, then destroying them as they break free to start their lives. Galactus consumes planets, feeding on the life energy, but his birth origin is that he was once a mortal and was from a planet in a pre-Big Bang universe.
Weird.
So basically, his origin story has something to do with When an unknown force begins to kill off all life in his universe, his ship is caught in the Big Crunch, a hypothetical scenario where the opposite of the Big Bang happens and the universe collapses. The process changes him, and he gestates in an egg for billions of years and then hatches out as Galactus. So there's another cosmic egg birthing a god.
Wow,
Okay.
this is fun. Nice links, Gordy. There's some sort of like macro system.
Okay, this just tinged too. And I will have to look this up, but I know that there's an Abraxas character that is tied to Galactus. His name is Abraxas, and I think he's Galactus's brother.
Okay.
So I'm thinking there's that. Okay, Google search.
Yeah, I just did it. Abraxas, as the antithesis of eternity and the abstract embodiment of destruction, sought to destroy not only the main Marvel Comics universe, but all parallel realities as well, using the ultimate nullifier.
Ultimate nullifier. That's how he brought into the Fantastic Four. That's how they got rid of Galactus, is the ultimate nullifier.
Interesting. So null means zero.
Right.
So, which is just kind of profound because there's a lot of thought around the fact that zero doesn't exist. And it's just a tool for fractional reserve banking. Nice.
It looks like here he's slain multiple parallel universe versions of Galactus here.
Ah, there you go.
Abraxas would be a lot to get into in terms of the Gnostic meaning of that name.
Yeah.
Maybe take us off course. Like we could do a whole episode talking
Just
about
a little
Abraxas.
The whole universe could implode.
Again. Here we go.
So one more
I
point.
have to have.
There you go. Yeah.
Your chicken dragon.
Yeah. So one more point on that opening line, Chance, is just the point that it says all was in balance. And I just always point out that goes to the Saturnian cosmology of, the planets being in an alignment, in a columnal alignment. And I believe that certain, you could just say the Saturn death cult believes in all of the planets being in a column in primordial times. That's what I see there.
So for the sake of getting through this film in a relatively timely fashion, I'm going to move us through a couple of screenshots and advance the plot here. So
Right on.
Scene present day London. I grabbed this screenshot because, this architecture is interesting, and I wondered if we knew what this was, but I didn't have time to go look into it myself. But this is an opening scene here. Probably don't need to comment on it unless we know what this specific plaza is.
Well, it does have a columnal alignment.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
And so the main character, Cersei, walks into her job at a university or a high school or whatever, and she speaks to the Charles Darwin statue as if she knew Charles Darwin. So there's a strong theme in this movie about evolution. And one of the things about the Eternals, as opposed to the Deviants, which are the monstrous creatures that they must fight, that are also created by their own creator, is that the Deviants are dangerous because they evolve, but the Eternals are unable to evolve. So there's a lot of parallels between the Eternals and the what would you call them? Were they called the Eternals too in Zardoz?
Oh, I think they were. How funny.
Yeah, I think they might have been also called the Eternals. And they also could not evolve. They had reached a technological, scientific pinnacle. There's some others. There's some similarities between Zardoz and we'll have to get into that. I totally forgot. I have this notebook of notes too. I better start looking at that. Oh shit.
So in that moment when she says, "Hey Charlie," to him on this throne, and here we have a throne, very Saturnian, that throne in the north. She's ascending the stairs, and she says, "I know I'm late, Charlie." And so there's ascension, and that is part of, secret society rituals to climb up the steps. And also, I'll just point out that the next person on the throne, once Queen Elizabeth is out of the picture,
It's a
that
lizard
guy-
beast.
a lizard beast. Yep. The next one is going to be a Charles. It's going to be King Charles is the next heir apparent.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, the evolution question is interesting too, because it's as dogmatic as any Demiurge worshiping religion, the belief in it. So
Yep. And that's what she goes in to start teaching the kids. She's passing it down to the next generation.
you could even look at it as like there are two conflicting storylines here, just like there are in our world, which is one storyline that we raised up from something lower, and the other storyline that we descended from something higher.
I like that. Great point.
We have that conflict of cosmology in our current world.
I like that. Great point.
Either one is kind of it's a double-edged sword, because you either came from slime and monkeys or you've fallen. So it's like a lose-lose. I try not to hold either position and wonder if the real meaning of eternity is that now is the only thing that exists and there is no descent or ascent.
Right.
There's just what it is right now. But okay.
Well, that's the middle path too.
Oh, hey,
You
and
know?
so you've pulled up about King or Prince Charles here. Do we want to say anything else about him?
No, just that I just found it interesting. He's on a throne. She's ascending stairs.
It's in London.
Yep, it is in London. Yep.
Okay. So this is a scene where she meets Dane, or she already knew Dane, but Dane is probably going to come back to the Marvel universe as the Black Knight later. Also,
Ooh,
that's
nice.
that's what's hinted at about this guy, that he has an artifact from an ancestor that will transform him into the Black Knight, who is a sort of, I think, started out as a villain but became an Avenger later. Anyway, what I found interesting was that in this scene, when she walks into the room to take over her class that he's watching for her, he says this direct quote: "In this broad earth of ours, and amid the measureless grossness and the slag, enclosed and safe within its central heart, nestles the seed of perfection." What does that sound like to you? Journey to the center of the earth,
Black Sun.
and you will find the Philosopher's Stone, basically.
Yeah.
Journey to the center of the earth, rectify what you find there, and you will have the Philosopher's Stone. I'm paraphrasing, but just
That's
a little like it. He says it quickly. There's other things going on in the scene. He's not all the way on screen when he's saying it. It's just in one of those in passing things that is like, hey, we're talking about alchemy here, which could be correlated to the idea of evolution as well.
Yep. I love whenever they're dismissive of a thing, whenever they make these profound statements, but it just seems blasé in passing in the movie. That's when my ears perk up the most. They're trying to slip something in, in the fine print.
So I don't have any
There's a lot of
screenshots for the next couple of scenes, but maybe you guys we can walk from there to where to after the first battle scene with the deviant. Do you guys have anything to say about that? There's an earthquake. There's anything relevant in all that when Cersei has to come out as a wizard lady, eternal, and her powers are interesting too. Maybe we could talk about Cersei a little bit, because she's the one that's really set up and staged in this section of the movie.
I do have a quick one to mention right there right when the earthquake happens in that classroom. The one child is hiding underneath a shell on the wall. The shell is about to crush the child.
Oh.
She transmutes it to dust. Placenta, y'all. Placenta.
Also,
There's the earth shape.
That's a giant ammonite.
Nice, Gordy.
Oh wow, yeah.
Nice.
It's actually the exact same root of the word Ammon, where we have Jupiter Ammon from, for the same reason, because the ammonite has the spiral shape that's reminiscent of what? Who? The horns?
Yes.
The horns that the initiate, the Moshe, the Moses wears? Jupiter
Boom.
with the horns? Jupiter
Boom.
Ammon?
Yes, the Old
But
Testament.
we're talking ram horns, so the
Big
spiral
horns.
horn, not
You
the
guys have the little. Yeah,
Yeah.
I saw you guys posted the ones with the big ones.
Wow.
so it's an ammonite that almost falls under. That's a good catch, Gordy.
Big up, man. That's great. So yeah, that I mean, so much symbolism in these subtle little things.
That's a hidden hand too, because Ammon is also where we get Amen. It was the hidden one
The
in
hidden
Egyptian
one, the
mythology.
invisible,
The
right.
hidden one, the hidden god, Amen Ra.
Yeah, they would paint his image was in blue in the story, which
And she's a
symbolized
hidden
her-
god in that scene
right,
too. She's a
invisibility.
god who's hidden.
Yep.
Mhm.
Oh, that's great. Nice. I love it. So yeah, that's a birthing ritual. You know, the earthquake is like the labor, and then the placenta, the shell, your old lineage, the old truth of the whole story of how you got here, dissolved, disappeared. Nothing to see here. Move along, folks.
Always comes back to placenta with you. Okay, so from there she goes and meets her dude Dane, and then they get attacked by that you first see the first deviant creature when he comes on shore from the River Thames next to, and we initiate this journey basically with a homeless man and his dog, which he's on a cliff's edge of sorts because he's on a shore. I don't know if it's a full fool symbolism, but it is the beginning of the journey, and we have who you could consider to be a fool character in the sense that it's a homeless man, and homeless people, how did you become homeless? There's maybe some fool archetype in that, and he's got his dog with him. That kicks off. But the deviant creature comes out of the water and then starts chasing Cersei and her little buddy Sprite, who is an eternally childlike eternal.
Mm-hmm.
Never grows up, Peter Pan kind of, and they flee from it. This character that we just brought up, Sprite, the little red-haired child, has the power of illusions, kind of like Loki, and Cersei has the ability to transmute anything into anything, basically. I think it needs to be like organic materials. I don't know if there's rules about it.
Yeah.
And they are rescued in their flight from the deviant by Icarus, the Superman character who can fly and shoot lasers out of his eyes.
Right.
Did I miss anything there?
No, you got it.
Well,
one thing I saw right away, because I'm obsessing over it currently in my works, is that the deviant is absolutely an echidna.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got those tentacles like spines, like needles coming off of its back. It is DNA. It's transmuting. There we go. Yeah.
Wait, that could get us in trouble if I actually hit play on it. It might, if I just show it, it's probably fine. But I just remembered what happened to us on Weaving Spiders the other night. But maybe if I kind of scan through it gently.
And the Echidna gives birth to the Sphinx, and she's called the mother of monsters.
Oh, and he gives birth to, or this creature gives birth to these other deviants
changes their DNA, and they go through an altar, an Ares.
And it pokes them with these spine needle, rape needle vaccines.
Yep. Corey, I can't tell you how grateful I am that you told me about Echidna. That's the gift that keeps on giving, man.
The Echidna sync on the Weaving Spiders last night. Just wow.
You can't help it though. Once you see all these things, once you start getting the connections, you can't help it. Can I share screen?
Yeah.
With you real quick?
We can all do it.
I'm just going through, let's see. Screen share.
I have to put it up and take it down, but you can prepare it and then I can put it up.
And Circe
It's just
in Greek myth, she changes men into pigs. So there's a lot of like morphing and transmutating and DNA manipulation baked into the storyline.
It's an
But you
infinite
can-
recursion.
sorry, I'm screwing this
I'm
up.
falling into it.
Oh, here.
Oh, you can leave your screen. Okay, prepare your screen share and I'll pull it up when it's ready. But you can start it and then I'll pull it up anytime you say, bring my screen up.
If you just do a Google, I'll just tell people to just do a Google image search of echinoderms.
Right.
Because echinoderms come in all sorts of shapes, but they're all spiky. This is how it gets the name.
Yes.
Because of sea urchins and
Nice.
But they're also starfish.
Oh man,
Stars.
five limbs like a hand.
Like a hand.
Right. And very tentacly. If you just start scrolling through those things.
Right. And just in case anybody didn't notice or know this, but the Echidna is the symbol on your Starbucks. They call her a siren, but they're being obtuse. She is an Echidna. She is the Echidna, the mother of monsters. And you better believe all your Starbucks is packed full of glyphosate, and who knows what that's going to do to your DNA. Just had to put that out there. Starbucks. Star. There's your star. There's your Echidna. It's all disclosure, you know? The star.
Yeah.
It's the starfish. And she has a starfish on her head. They're telling you this is the Echidna. It's amazing the depth of the symbology.
Yeah, we're just like on the cutting edge of the Echidna exploration too. It's it's not something you hear a lot of people talking about. Maybe Chris Knowles gets into it. I wouldn't put it past him.
Gordy, did you see that that link I sent you about the Echidna Islands?
Yeah, yes, I did. And
Echidna.
I'm not going to correct you because I know that this is how it's pronounced, just how I've always pronounced it as Echidna.
Echidna. Okay.
But I could be wrong.
No, that's cool. Yep, that's totally cool.
But the Echidna Islands, I've never heard of that, and it's off of the coast of Turkey, right?
Gordy's right. It's Echidna.
Okay, nice. Right off the coast of Turkey, and I think also very near Greece.
Yeah, Greece. Right.
Yeah. And digging in on that line, there was like a turn of a very famous war between like the Ottoman Empire and some other culture. There was a battle in those islands that, the whole history of the world turned on a dime right in that location. So it is very significant little spot that's very obscure.
Well, interesting that islands are almost always a turning point in war. Like the Guernsey Islands in the English Channel have always been like a stopping point between the England and the rest of Europe. Also, Midway Islands in World War II.
Yeah.
The Philippines, they're always. So maybe we should be paying attention to some island areas. I'm just saying.
We were talking islands. Canary Islands is a big important part of the
Canary
beginning of this conversation.
Where La Palma kicked off.
Yeah, man. In case you missed this, we'll just recap real quick. The movie was shot at the Canary Islands a couple of years before the La Palma thing that we talked about back when it occurred on Weaving Spiders. And so there was talk of it maybe creating a tidal wave. And what do you see in the background here behind us right now? Let me take us down. It's the hand the Yod, the La Palma coming out of the ocean, the palm coming out of the ocean in the Canary Islands, where the La Palma thing happened just a couple years later. It was like some kind of weird cosmic pre-programming. I don't know.
Or just thinks, and this is
That's what I
the
mean by
language
cosmic
that we're
pre-programming.
seeing.
Mhm.
Maybe we're the only ones that are speaking this language. We're not the only
Language
ones,
of symbolism.
but there's a lot of them.
So here's the
A lot of
Echidna
people aren't paying
statue,
attention.
or Echidna. I'm saying it like Gabe says it now, damn it. Here's the Echidna, and the Starbucks, basically it's the Starbucks lady, monster lady.
Yep, very obviously. And even a little bit of that your Abraxas chicken there too, with the snake legs,
Right. The scales.
Mm-hmm.
So there's also okay, I'm gonna skip that. We have plenty to talk about. Never mind. All right, so here's the screenshot to push forward after they've defeated this monster. There's this interesting scene where Cersei's about to get struck by a red bus, a London bus, and she turns it into red rose petals as it's about to hit her. And I thought that might be symbolic, but then there's a scene where the driver of the bus is standing up out of the rose petals, all befuddled, and you're meant to be focusing on him and on what just happened, and a little bit dazzled by the CG razzle dazzle. But in the background here, and it's very dark, so we'll have to maybe have to tell you what we're looking at, because it's a very dark shot. But here's a big dragon. Here is a sign that says all you can eat for $8.80. So there's an 88. There is a tattoo parlor, blue skin, piercing and tattoo, blue skin. And here is Dark Angel. Dark Angel, all you can eat, 88, blue skin. Lots there. None of it on accident, although it flashes by very quickly.
Yeah.
See, these are the things I knew were there that I missed the first time, that I knew I'd have to. Blue skin automatically brings up images of Kali to me.
Or Shiva, yeah.
Or Shiva, right.
Also, so she just turned the bus into red rose petals, and that is that's a symbol of the bloodlines, the grafting
all day
of bloodlines. And blue skin is the blue bloods kin, the kin of the blue bloods.
Blues kin. Yep, and they are the dragon court, or the dragon bloodline.
You're right. And she just altered the bus into red flowers.
Dark angels are said to be what sired them, like the Nephilim or whatever. They're hybrid. It's the hybrid program. So this whole scene, you can even see some of the rose petals falling. This whole scene is to just let you know, encoding that these characters are symbolic for the occult priest class and the hidden hand rulers.
Mm-hmm. Yep. In 8 AD, that is the year that Ovid wrote Metamorphosis.
8 AD.
AD.
Oh, and she just transformed the thing. 8 AD. Well, I was thinking 88 as in. I was thinking 88 as in.
Wow.
Mercury. Mercury's orbital period is 88 days.
Mm-hmm.
Right. 8 AD.
And it's also 64. 8 times 8.
Woo! Suck it. Hail back.
These weaves just don't stop. They just keep going.
Right.
I don't think we've ever completed one weave.
I feel bad leaving everyone else out of it, but
right.
We're having trouble getting through it with the two of us, and then Gordy jumped in, and we're not moving fast. Maybe it's a two-parter. I was thinking, Gordy, I would like to do these maybe like the last Sunday of the month, just a movie
that'd be
night.
fun. Okay.
We could invite other spiders to join or whatever. I don't want to be exclusive, but it could also just be our thing. It's whatever. We're probably the biggest 3 Marvel nerds in our team.
Yep.
What do you think of my t-shirt, Gordy?
I know, very nice. I was just going through all my Marvel nerds shirts and going, do I want to change my? Nah, I'm just
Yeah, we need you
I
to
don't
hurry
wanna
up and
ne-
get here.
I don't need to nerd out that bad,
How
but
was
I'm
the
sure
dinner?
there's
You have a
some.
good time with your fam?
Yeah, of course. The kid's always fun. She's moving, so we got to get her boxes and new phone plan and things like that. But she's great. Love spending time with her.
Nice.
Okay, so another thing that's important to talk about with what we just discussed, how Cersei and the other Eternals represent the family bloodlines or whatever, the dragon bloodlines, is that she gives her boyfriend, Dane or Zane, whichever it is, a family crest as a gift.
Uh-huh.
And that's, I mean, maybe not a lot to say about that, but that's an obvious symbol of the nobility, family
Right.
crests, coat of arms, all that.
Yep.
And legitimacy too.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of one of the reasons people have crests. It's like, oh, I'm somebody. You know.
Yeah. And that's what
the ultimate point was.
uh-huh. And I read Ovid as a series of mythical stories about certain spirits and certain elements of change that human royal bloodlines can make a claim to those events. And so the divine right to rule, just theoretically, the people saying we deserve to be the kings, it's because we're related to these famous characters from the Metamorphosis storylines. And so, so essentially, her dating a human is like pointing out he must be royalty if she's given him the time of day.
And he is.
Mm-hmm.
Technically, he's it's kind of a side thing in the movie, but he's a descendant of this Black Knight character.
Right. So they're pushing the Nephilim.
And also, though, you can take it as the grafted bloodline concept with the rose, because she's the divine being and he's the human being.
And also there's the whole King Arthur thing about it too. That's where the Black Knight comes from. She's the chalice, he's the sword.
Bingo.
Gwendolyn and
Guinevere, you mean?
Guinevere, sorry. Yeah, Guinevere.
And here comes the Tan and Ivor.
And the Excalibur. That's what the Black Knight's sword is the Excalibur.
Right. And later in the movie, Thena is on the ship.
It's actually the ebony blade in Marvel, anyway. The Black Knight's weapon is the ebony blade.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Big reveal. We're giving it all away here. So,
right. Thank you for bringing me back to the real storyline, because I've got this stuff it's all just floating in there with just like confetti. Because I gotta
Thena is on the ship. Thena's on the ship. She's swinging a sword, and somebody says to her, "Is that the ebony blade?" And she says, "No, this is Excalibur." And so
and then the other character said, "Arthur always liked you, didn't he?" or whatever.
Right. And that tells you that the ebony blade is elsewhere. And that's the big Easter egg at the end of the movie.
Yeah, the traditional post-credits scene that Marvel always does. And the character that comes and talks to Dane out off screen, you think it might be like Nick Fury or something, but the Marvel writers said that it's Blade.
What?
Yeah, they're going to do the super team of Blade and the Black Knight and Doctor Strange and whoever else is on that team, the Sons of Midnight, the Midnight Sons.
Midnight Sons, right?
So
that'll be the next Avengers thing. Will be the Midnight Sons probably.
So that
super team.
That voice was Wesley Snipes' replacement.
Yeah, the new Blade.
Wow.
I don't remember who the actor is.
That's a big fat Easter egg.
Yeah, they always do that. So yeah, the next thing that happens in the film is, oh, you know what? I was thinking of anagrams for Arishem, since we're talking about arms, like the Black Knight. An anagram in Arishem is high arms.
Whoa, that goes to sovereignty, right?
Yeah, because arms are not just weapons. They're your crest. They're your family lineage. They're your pedigree. They're your, all of that stuff.
Wow.
And
this makes me just real crazy side note, but I've heard some really obnoxious assholes claiming that they're all Masonically approved. And the guy he was covered in tattoos, but he had a particularly Masonic tattoo on his wrist. In his claim, I wanted to punch this guy so bad. He was such a cocky bastard. But he used to say that if I ever get pulled over, I'll just flip my arm over and let the cops see my tattoo, and I don't have to say anything. And he just knows that I'm in chapter 68 and in whatever state.
Sounds like a dumb braggart.
Oh yeah,
With nothing to back it up.
Oh yeah, he was crazy. But that just makes me think of coat of arms. That maybe in certain groups it was an old tradition to have symbols, so you don't have to speak. So you can just flash the symbol, and everybody knows that we have an understanding here. Yeah, man.
This is how I got on the spider team.
That's right.
This was what I flashed. It's like the dark mark in Harry Potter.
Yes.
And they are meant to be like purebloods. There's a different film series, but in Harry Potter, Voldemort's cronies, they've all got the dark mark, which is very reminiscent of the staff of Asclepius, the Medici mafia. And yeah, you got to flash the tat to get, and you touch it to communicate. Anyway, that's a whole nother movie. So yeah, let's move forward.
All right.
We get a sequence of scenes where the Eternals are shown in the ancient past, their first arrival on the planet, then shows them go to Babylon, and from there they go to the Gupta Empire in India, and next to Tenochtitlan. And we'll probably talk about things that happen in between all of that. I wanted to now show this character that we haven't talked a lot about yet, the Superman-esque character Icarus. And he's very much the sun god, solar deity character. More than one scene he's shown with the sun partially obscuring him. I only took this one screenshot, but I watched it happen at least 3 times very prominently. And movies with this kind of budget, not even a single frame of imagery is accidental. It's all intentional. So, and it's kind of obvious his name's Icarus, so that maybe that's not like a huge wow, nice one chance, but
well, Jack Kirby was not subtle with his imagery. I mean, if you've ever read like some of the original Jack Kirby stuff, he's pretty blunt with almost all of what he takes, taking Thor and all these archetypes. He was really big in, and quite frankly, Eternals is not his better of the 2 versions that he did. He did the version called The New Gods for DC after he left Marvel. And it was essentially, new gods like the Eternals, but there was the main character was Orion, like straight up just Orion.
Wow.
And he just writes the new mythology for the new gods, and that's actually quite a bit better. But
so one thing about Icarus that I see, for his first words in the movie are "I am Icarus," and so he definitely has, and his name is very parallel to Christ, and much like a crystal, he has that translucence. The light comes through him, the way in the light kind of thing going on. But in the original stories, Icarus was running the team. He was the prime, what is it called, Chance? The prime
Eternal.
He was the prime Eternal. And in this story, he's not only is he not the prime Eternal, he becomes the betrayer. So his character is betrayed by the writers, and he becomes the Judas. So there is like a real heavy inversion going on by putting the Christ in the Judas role in a major way.
So when they're in Babylon, I think it's a good time to bring up the eternal Gilgamesh, since that's a Babylonian character.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So here's their depiction of Babylon. I find it interesting that the Eternals hide their spaceship in the city, and the city is built up around their ship. And they teach the people agriculture and give them technology. There's a Hephaestus character named Festos who does, invents things to help them and advance them. And something that Sabak talks about is that these ancient saucer cults were actually guarding UFOs or UFO technology that was meant to, in some way, ensure that whoever owned it or kept it, whichever priesthood had it, had the dominant power in the world hegemony of different cults and groups. And so, like the temples, according to Sabak. So, I mean, I don't take Sabak as gospel. I'm interested in him, and I'm almost done reading his book. Someday I will be. So I've read one. I'm reading a second one. But anyway, there's that idea here because like their ship is hiding at this big temple back here. And they're guarding the gates. The characters have a big fight at the gates. You can see the silhouettes of them here. They're guarding the gates of Babylon.
Yes. So what you're saying is Babylon is the origin of the city on ship. The city's on the ship. This is citizenship.
Uh-huh.
The origin of Babylon. And that's the way the story begins here.
The kingship. And Gilgamesh is the like original kingship.
Right.
Gilgamesh is a king in the Babylonian mythos who the descendant of basically the Noah character, Utnapishtim, I believe he's called in Babylonian.
Yes.
And Gilgamesh goes on a journey to try to find immortality.
Right. And in this fight scene, again, no symbolism is lost. No moment is wasted.
This is Gilgamesh in that fight scene on the right. This is the actor that portrays him.
Yep. He punches one of the deviants. The deviant flies back and smashes one of two sphinxes. The sphinx on the stage left. And that, I believe, is hailing back to the fact that at Giza, there is a missing sphinx. It is the left-hand sphinx. If you're on top of the pyramids looking down, the left-hand sphinx has been missing. And that relates in many mystic circles that is symbolic of our vacant right brain, that we do not read symbolically. The feminine aspect of our brain is not cultivated. We are very heavily left brain dominant. And
nice catch.
Yeah, so smashing that sphinx and the missing sphinx at the pyramid, which they recently unveiled. They said they admitted that it's there. But the secret schools have been screaming about the missing left sphinx for generations.
Yeah, I remember hearing about them being like an oracles, like passing the oracles kind of thing. But I never really remember hearing that there was a platform found or anything. They've actually confirmed that now?
They came out. Yep. I'll try to put that. I'll link that somewhere in the Telegram so we can all, it's just a snippet. Came out about a month or 2 months ago.
Oh, awesome.
So Shannon in the chat asked about the Emerald Tablet. We're actually going to get to that in a second. That's an aspect of this film. But to what you said, Gabriel, about the right brain and the symbolism here, specifically the Eternals, they are given a directive to not interfere in human conflict because left brain fighting and warring leads to left brain scientific achievements and advancements in society. So war leads to evolution. And so they're left to fight amongst each other, and the Eternals only protect them from the deviant monsters. So they're setting up humanity at the time of Babylon, early in humanity's timeline and early in their arrival on Earth, to become and develop into a warlike, left-brained, masculine dominant species. And it's symbolized with that broken statue, just like you pointed out. I think maybe that might be synchronistic or it might be intentional. It's like, who knows? But I wanted to show, this is Gilgamesh in the comic. Very different, but I think all the Eternals are quite different looking in the comic.
So we got a G and an H with Gilgamesh. Starts with a G, ends with an H. He's rocking the bridge with that H on his chest there. Very
Good point.
interesting. Yeah, very interesting. A lot of mercurial signs and symbols at play. He's got that game in the middle of his name, Gil Game Esh. Yeah.
And
Shh. Yep.
Gil
Yeah,
game.
Yep. And so very soon after that scene where they beat the deviants, the deviants, is that right?
Yeah, they're
Mhm, mhm.
the monsters.
Yeah, they then they have a bit of a falling out, and like Druig decides that he's gonna pull and run, cut and run.
This happens at Tenoctitlan in South America.
Oh, okay. So we're not in Babylon at that point. Okay.
No, yeah.
I've jumped ahead. I'm ahead of myself. Thank you.
Yeah, that does happen though.
Yeah.
We should get to that, but before we do, we'll introduce that character a little bit, because that ties into the Emerald Tablets question.
Right.
So there's a scene in between here where the character Ajak is shown communing in her mind with Arishem, the sort of Demiurge character. I have a screenshot of that. That's all you see of it. He's enormous.
Right. And she's tiny. She's like a little speck.
Yeah, that's her right here. You can barely see her.
Yeah. Yep.
And he's revealing his grand designs to her. Well, I don't know what we have to say about that. We've talked about him already a good amount.
Mm-hmm.
But what I thought was interesting in this Babylon scene is what's her name? The speedster character who was a male in the comics but became a female.
Makari.
And deaf.
Makari.
Yeah, so her and Druig are like trying to accumulate artifacts and treasures from the human beings. Guess it's like a game to her. And she's speaking to these humans and they tell her the emerald tablet you're searching for is a myth, which I thought is kind of a wink, wink, nudge, nudge, because the emerald tablets of Thoth, I suspect that they're a creation of the relatively modern age and not as authentic and ancient as claimed. There's no evidence or proof that they are from tablets made of emerald. I've never been shown any tablets. All we have is the text and the mythos of it. And it didn't emerge onto the scene of occultism until like the age of the Theosophists or so, the early 1900s. So
yeah,
all kinds of forgery and fakery happening around then.
Yeah.
That's my thoughts. So they're telling you the emerald tablet you're searching for is a myth. Maybe they're letting us know that they know that that's not real, that they gave us that.
Right. And then those two fellas, they end up trying to steal something, and she catches them stealing. And here we realize that these are two thieves. And two thieves have a very significant place in mythology on the crucifixion scene. And she busts them. She calls them out. She's like, I hear everything. I hear your whispers. I hear everything you're doing. And then she turns around, and while she was scolding him, she pocketed something. And she turns around to Druig and calls Druig out for mind controlling the people fighting. And Druig's like, well, if you don't tell on me, then I won't tell on you. And he pulls out what she stole. And so here we have Mercury is the king of thieves. So she was telling the thieves, giving them what for. And then she turns around and she steals from them. And then she calls Druig out for breaking the rules. Druig calls her out, and she signs, if you don't tell, I won't tell. And now they have a contract. And they do this thing where they like lift their heads at each other like, I agree, you agree? All right.
And they become romantically involved, kind of like you could call that they could be combining to become the Mercury character, since it's an androgyne type hermaphroditic symbol.
Excellent point.
And I also want to say that maybe it is or isn't the reason. Maybe the reason's for diversity, but maybe the reason they made her deaf is because now all of the Eternals speak in signs. And what is the occult priest class and the ruling class in the controllers, they speak in signs, going back to that right brain, left brain thing.
Great point. Great point. And she is on the left pillar in my Tree of Life breakdown. She's the bottom of the left pillar.
Yeah, this is a good time to review that. Let's pull that up. This is going so well. This is really fun. Couldn't do it without y'all.
Here we are.
Yeah.
So you have her as the Hod.
The Hod, yep. And I'll just point out from Binah to Hod. Oh, excuse me. So Geborah to Hod. That's on the left-hand column, and that's a G to the H. That's very mercurial from the G to the H. Geborah to Hod. And so she's on the bottom of this column, and that's sign language. That's symbology. And that does, just like you said, Chance, you called it, plays into that right brain symbolic literacy component. She also has preternatural intuition, cognition, preternatural cognition, which is like she sees shit coming in advance. She's got spidey senses.
Like Domino or something like that, where they know where things are all the time, 100%. So they can have prescient, the prescience. Once you know everything around you at one time, you know where things are coming from. So the spider senses can be trained. We can train ourselves.
That is so true. That is so true.
Just as far as a movie buff thing goes, she's also the best actress in this whole thing. Like all of it is garbage, but she's great. Her and I mean, Kumail Nanjiani is just you're just going to get Kumail. He's a comedian, you know. He's not going to be a great.
And that's
actor.
the Kingo character,
right? That's the Kingo, right? The egotist, narcissist kind of character.
It's funny they put him on the nutsack, or I put him on nutsack, and you're telling me he's a comedian.
Yeah, he that's his occupation. He's not an actor.
I thought it was a weird casting choice.
It was.
They made him all buff and stuff. I wonder how much of that is CG and how much of it he really worked out for.
I'm pretty sure he did work out for that. But
yeah, what would I give for like one of their trainers to just come whip me into shape? The Hollywood trainers. That's one thing they do very, very right.
I thought it's interesting though. They put him in a Bollywood scene. He's Pakistani. He's not Indian.
Ooh, yikes.
So I don't know what that choice was, or
you know, I did notice that he's like a wannabe Icarus. You know, he's like the Shadow Warrior is his stage character, and it's based on Icarus. And he's like, "What do you think? I'm you. I'm being like you." Mm-hmm. I found that really interesting. It comes up a few times in a few ways in the movie, but he's underneath Icarus on that Tree of Life. He's reflective. He's at the bottom. He's underneath, and he's a wannabe Icarus.
There's also a correspondence with Netsack and flight, or the hawk. The Hebrew word for hawk is netz.
Wow.
And it's from a word Nosats, I think, close to Netsack, which means shine or sparkle. So it is a root word that came to develop into the eternity or victory sphere of Netsack in the Kabbalistic Tree of Life.
That's cool.
Yeah, so it connects to the hawk, but that's like the sort of lesser than the eagle, which maybe the Icarus is the eagle.
You know, I might have a Marvel encyclopedia here. I'll be right back.
Oh, yeah, man. Sure. Yeah, that could come in handy for episodes to come.
So where should we go from here? Let's talk about Druig for a second.
Yeah.
Druig is this character that can mind control human beings, and he's very powerful in that sense. He can control dozens of people at once or maybe more.
Mhm.
And there's a constant, see, now this is a perfect example of the occult priest class. And you brought forward that his name is close to what? Druid.
Druid, he's the dregs, the drugs.
Drug.
Yep, and I put him at the bottom Sephiroth, the Malkuth, which has in and of itself, it contains the M to the K, the MK Ultra, which is the base, the dregs, like drugs are the dregs of the cauldron, They pull those dregs off the bottom, but he controls the dregs of society. When he does mind control on people, he finds the weak ones, those who are, have that material attachment and are easily manipulated.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a perfect example. Like that drugs are used to manipulate the weaker people in society.
Mm-hmm. Yep, pulling on those attachment strings, so to say. In the moment when he descends from the group, he descends down the stairs, and that causes the people to go into even more chaotic turmoil. And I just see that as really profoundly symbolic of the Tower of Babel and the confounding of tongues. And so in that moment, like they were unified up above at the top of Teotihuacan or whatever that location. And then when he comes out of the bottom of the group, then it's like a fall of Babel moment. But in my tree of life, he's the foundation. He's the bottom block. And if you pull the bottom block, that's the linchpin. And the whole thing's going to come tumbling down. And that's when Ajax turns to everybody and is like, you're all free to go and do your own thing. And we'll reconvene at a future date.
Hey,
Okay,
I wonder if Gordy knows the answer to this. Is Druid a villain in the comic universe?
I don't think so.
He seems pretty villainous to me.
The
pictures of him anyway in comic depictions, he doesn't seem like a very nice guy.
So there's always...
This is Druid in the comics. Very vampire-like. And this is him in the movie.
That's much newer than the...
That's true. That's not Jack Kirby original.
Yeah.
But are these characters based on the original Jack Kirby stuff?
Well, loosely. I mean, he created the characters, but boy, they've taken some really different...
yeah, most of the liberties they took with the characters mostly seem to be in the name of Disneyfied diversity.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've got
coming from 3 white males.
Right. Yeah, well, I've got the Marvel Encyclopedia. Let's see. Let's find Druid.
So Marvel includes X-Men?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
In fact, I've got the X-Men encyclopedia right here.
Oh, badass.
I'm way better versed with X-Men, personally.
Oh, same.
My order of comic book knowledge probably goes like Spider-Man, X-Men, Avengers. Order of importance.
Nice.
To me.
80. Okay.
So the actor's name has a HG in his name. Barry Coegan, Koeghan, Koeghan. It's got that Mercury right in the middle. And it also, here we have koans are in some secret societies, they're considered elite priests. And in other societies, they're considered the wannabes, the porch masons, so to say. Depends on who you're asking.
Okay, so
I think Druid was was a bad guy, though, in the Jack Kirby. Here's a
Probably. I was thinking he was kind of like there we go. There's the see, look how cool Kirby Crackle is. That
Yeah.
style.
definitely pops.
That pop defined my childhood, man. Okay. Let's see. We've got Dormammu also. Same page.
Wow.
Oh no, where's Druid? I thought I had it. But I do have Dormammu, who was it doesn't seem like he's eternal either.
So
But one of the most powerful.
there's a lot that happens from this point to like continue pushing on with the plot a bit. We can talk about how after the Eternals complete their mission and they've destroyed all the deviants that are on the planet, then Athena, the goddess of war character, the Angelina Jolie character, she goes mad weary, they call it, which is that she just starts attacking everybody and her mind seems to be fracturing. So at this point we find out, or not long after this, I guess it's a little while later, but we find out that the Eternals have actually, they thought that the Earth was their first mission, that they had just been born or whatever, but it turns out they've done this on millions of planets over eternity, and their minds are wiped and erased every time that they're sent on a new mission. Because, you know, as beings with some level of consciousness and conscience, they form an attachment to the living creatures that they're living amongst, and it doesn't sit right with you if you go into a world and you watch a species develop and your only goal is to loose them and eradicate them all so that a god can be born. And so you find out there is no Olympia, which is where they're supposedly from, that they believe they're from, which is again an interesting statement. There is no Olympia, there's no Olympus. They're from a place called the World Forge, which has got your WF, your World's Fair, the place where your memories are reprogrammed, right? And you're staged for your next existence, which I believe very much could be a parallel or allegory to our recent history on this planet, that maybe our ancestors don't go back as far as we think, and there's a generation of incubator babies, and they were given their history at the World's Fairs, and that's where we have all of what we think we know about this country. The World's Fairs, the World Forge. To me, that seems like a sync, if not an intentional one. Probably just a sync, but who knows?
We also have Wayfair with the Wayfair scandal, which involved children in inanimate objects, which is just really creepy how much that rhymes with incubator babies. Just saying.
Creepy. Okay, so I found the actual entry for the Eternals themselves. So the fact file of the key members is Kronos, Mentor.
Not a character in this movie. Neither is Mentor.
The first words in the movie are "It's time."
So maybe Kronos is in that movie.
Yes, and the introductory song is "Time" by Pink Floyd.
Right.
And the exit song was feels like the first time.
Oh yeah.
Wow. Nice catch.
Yep.
Huh.
So
I did notice the entry song was Floyd though.
Yeah.
Hard to miss that one.
They're telling us there's going to be a sequel. That's what I get from that too.
Oh, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
So next ones are Zurus. I'm not sure. I don't remember that one. Icarus, Uranus, Arlok, Athena, Circe, Makari, the Forgotten One, who is, didn't we just see Gilgamesh was the
he's the Forgotten One. Yeah.
Nice.
Kingo, Sunin, Sprite, Cybele.
Sprite, you mean?
Yeah.
Well, there's Sprite, and then there's Cybele, and then there's Festus, Corphos, Interloper, Ajax, Domo, Valken, Druig, Aganar, Zarnin, Delphan.
Dang.
Oh, Delphin Brothers, Sigmar, Varaku, and Vampiro.
Dang, that is a much more extensive list.
And their base, you guys know where their base is?
Mount Olympus or Olympia.
This says it's Titan,
Oh.
the moon of Saturn.
Oh.
Wow.
Yeah, I forgot this is cosmic stuff. They don't just stay on Earth in Jack Kirby's comics.
Yeah.
So the entry it's a small paragraph. About 1 million years ago, the externals.
Now, isn't Thanos an Eternal in the comics?
No.
Really? I thought he was.
Thanos, I think, is. So I think he's like, he is a Titan, but he's not an Eternal.
Okay, there's a difference between Titans and Eternals.
Yeah. And I think somehow they're.
What made me think of that is the Titans, where they have their base.
I think there is a relation to the Skrulls. Also, I think that's why they have like Thanos has the chin thing, the nutsack chin, like the Skrulls do, and the Skrulls are the impersonators, the changelings, the changeling race. Anyway, so going back to this. So about 1 million years ago, extraterrestrial celestials came out of the Earth to perform genetic experiments on the still evolving human race. To test how adaptable the human gene was, the celestials accelerated the evolution of a few early humans test subjects, giving them the genetic potential to mentally control small amounts of cosmic energy. The result of these experiments was the race known as the Eternals, who possesses a number of superhuman powers, far longer lifespans than the normal humans. With training, an Eternal can further develop a specific superhuman ability. Subsequent genetic experiments by the Celestials also led to the creation of the Deviants, who in time to come would vie for power with the Eternals. Eventually, the Eternals split into two factions, a peaceful, benevolent one led by Kronos, and a warlike one led by Uranus. Increasing tension led to bitter civil war, which was won by Kronos and his followers. The group led by Uranus were exiled to outer space, and in time, the survivors among Uranus's followers established a civilization of their own on the Saturn's moon of Titan. The Eternals, led by Zurus, clashed with the fourth host of the Celestials when the latter arrived to judge the Earth and its people. Although Zurus was killed by the Celestials, spared the people of Earth and departed. So he killed him and bolted off.
So this is a little bit of a tangent, not much to it, but I just found that there's a 1991 movie starring Jesse Ventura, Abraxas, Guardian of the Universe.
Wow.
We gotta watch this on a Friday night. I'll show up for this one.
Yeah.
Here's the thing.
I bet it's terrible.
You gotta be the Abraxas.
I bet it's so bad.
Oh my god! And the Midwest
you ever
accent's
think
gonna be
about that?
great.
This guy used his wrestler name to become governor. That's how you know that
Right.
politics is acting.
So
Exactly.
so that whole title has a U-GOAT acronyms, all the first letters, AGOTU. You can rearrange that to say goat you or U-GOAT. Yeah, we should totally watch that. That looks fun.
So there's basically once everyone gets reunited, to get back to the plot, We've probably missed some things, but we don't need to tell every little detail of the plot. It's really more important that we just pick out the symbolism we find interesting and important.
Yep.
But here's a scene where Gilgamesh serves his friends a big meal, and he prepares or he pours them some drink that is a trio of wine, beer, and mead made for the soldiers in the Battle of Troy. So, first of all, I think in the near future, we'll probably find a chance to bring forward information about Troy being zodiac in code and pure mythology, which is not that surprising. But the interesting thing is that it's a trio of wine, beer, and mead, the three things that traditionally the pharmakia class has used to bring about satisfaction in the soldier class. You keep them supplied with their addictions, and they'll keep doing what you want them to do. And alcohol, I mean, what more can we say about alcohol? But specifically those three forms of alcohol, or at least wine and beer. I find that interesting. It's making a point that the Eternals, who symbolize the occult priest class and the ruling hidden hand and the dragon court nobility, they made the beer, wine, and mead for the soldiers in the Battle of Troy. I think that's what is relevant about that point.
Big time. And Dylan Sicoccio was just on Crow 777 talking about great episode, highly recommended. He was talking about how the word Troy is an encode for the three in the one, the triune God. And the way that line is phrased, it's the three in wine, three in one, the three out of the one. And so it's just very beautiful that the wording confirms what Dylan is saying in a major way.
And Gilgamesh is really like the strongest character. And with wine encodes the fury of the Leo season, because the grapes take on the energy of the heat of the sun in the season of Leo. That's when the grapes are like really growing and plumping up. And then in the harvest season, all of that, the fury of the sun is transferred into the wine.
Yep. The grapes of wrath.
The grapes of wrath. Exactly.
I noticed also that they made a point of him putting himself into the drink as well, because there was the whole story of him chewing up, masticating it, and spitting it out.
And what was he chewing up? It was corn.
Right.
Corn is in Hebrew would be just KRN, the exact same consonants as Cronus.
Excellent.
Cronus. Corn and horn have a phonetic linkage in the etymology as well with those languages.
So
nice catch there.
Yeah, Gordy. So by feeding himself to all the other gods, he is seeding all stories after him.
Very much
just like Gilgamesh.
Or just like the communion. It's communion.
Wow.
This is what we take when you're doing the what's it called when the cracker and the wine becomes the actual body? Transubstantiation. But what do they call it?
Communion?
The other word.
I think they call it transubstantiation.
That's the actual.
The idea that it becomes the idea that it becomes the literal flesh and blood of Christ is transubstantiation, I think.
But you're so right, Gordon.
Eucharist.
Eucharist. Nice. January 6th. Oh, wow. That's good stuff.
So anyway.
Capricorn.
Oh, Eucharist. Yeah. There you go.
Eucharist.
Yeah.
Eucharist.
Wow. Gordy, that's fabulous. And then he ends up, he's one of the ones who dies. Sorry.
Everybody's
I think we've spoiled enough at this point.
Yeah.
Right. But he's one of the one who dies, who sacrifices himself for the greater good. And then the deviants drink of him, take in his substance.
Right.
And that makes them more human. By drinking the Gilgamesh, they become
his power.
Yes.
The cannibalism.
Yes, and so by consuming the story of Gilgamesh, you gain more ability to reason, more ability to see the real, true ways in this world. That is profound. Gordy, great catch, man. I need to read Gilgamesh again. I think that's what that means.
Yeah, same here, right?
And Athena is kind of like his Echidna, because she's basically becomes feral and beast-like in a way.
You're right. Let me pull up a screen share here.
She's the Tiferet. Oh,
The
here you go.
Tiferet, the center one. So this is beautiful, Gordy. Every time I tried to look up Athena, they had the she viper known as Medusa built in with her weaponry.
Right.
And
The Gorgon.
The Gorgon. And you're so right, Chance. She was like the Enkidu to Gilgamesh, because eventually, even though they struggle at first as opponents, they become bonded, and they go in off on adventures together. So to a large degree, she is encoding the Ophiuchus, the Apollo, the opposition of the Gilgamesh's Orion.
Which is Nimrod.
Yep.
And so she's like the Apollyon.
Yes.
Makes sense.
And so here we have, we already touched on this, Gordy, before you got here, but so Athena is the goddess of strategy and wisdom. It's a goddess of strategy and wisdom, and is also highly venerated in the Ostrega witch cults. And that has to do with the owl. The owl has 300. The owl is another symbol of Athena, because she has strategy and awareness. The owl has 360-degree perspective, and this is where Ostrega and strategy are so closely related.
Huh. Is that where the Strega idea of that whole witchcraft thing culture that's going on right now, is that an Athena thing? I'm not versed in that.
Yeah,
I should ask. This is probably a question for Rachel, but
yeah,
She's in the chat, or she was.
is she?
Uh-huh.
Oh, hey, jump in.
You got anything to say? Like, if you legit wanted to, you can message me. I'll give you a link. You watched the movie, I think Rachel did.
Yeah.
Oh,
So,
I can
yeah,
bring
I
this
just
down.
want-
I forgot I'm in charge of that.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring up the that Ostrega 360-degree, and how the Gorgon is baked into Athena's, because in the end, Athena, the character in the movie, she's the one who kills the Echidna. She does the double stroke and chops the Echidna. So it's very true to the mythology.
Other than the fact that Gilgamesh is the one that outlives his friend Echidna.
Good point. Great point. Because Enkidu should go first. But we're jumping ahead.
Isn't that what makes Gilgamesh go on his journey? It's because his friend dies, and so he's like, man, I'm going to die then. I don't want to die.
Yep. Which is strangely reminiscent of the Buddha, realizing that there is, mortality is a problem, and going off on a hero's adventure.
Another thing about what was it? I had something good. Where's never mind. I was thinking about Arashim, Yaldabaoth connection. But let's talk about a little bit about the part where they go to the World Forge. I think that's where we're at, and find out that the Eternals. Oh, wrong one. The Eternals are looshing intelligent civilizations to create sons of God, SUNSON, and we find out that the Eternals are basically robots, that they are created by Arashim, and they're not really organic beings, and they're powered by cosmic energy. But I thought that I screenshotted this because look at this, and then look at the Sophia robot.
Isn't that something?
They look really similar. I wish I had put them side by side in an image, but
Ugh.
it's pretty uncanny.
Uncanny.
I think they want us to think about the Sophia robot, which
Yeah.
if you just do a Google search for the Sophia AI robot any given day, you will see news stories from as recent as 9 hours ago, 2 weeks ago. I mean, I just did it just now. They are keeping her in the news. The top one is Sophia the robot commits to help end global racism. That's the headline. And injustice. I'm not even kidding.
For Christ's sake, what
So
is wrong with
she's a
us?
Saudi Arabian citizen that's going to help us deal with social issues.
Apparently. Yeah, there it is.
Thanks.
What kind of
Sophia.
imbecile would give your control like that to a machine? Oh, our imbeciles.
Yeah, man.
Of course.
She says, we need to create a society that is based on equality and justice for all. It's paramount for humans and AI to work together. Wait, let me do the voice better. We should celebrate diversity, and I believe we will see a decrease in racism, sexism, and homophobia as people embrace AI and technology. So one of the main reasons why this movie exists as a propaganda film was so that you could have the cast of all the diversity. You got a gay black dude, Festus.
Mhm.
That's a double. You have a black female deaf chick. That's a triple.
Mm.
I'm not trying to be insensitive. I'm just saying,
know,
like, they're doing this on purpose. They're trying, like, you have
Clearly, and they're changing
they
the genders
make
of
the
all-
they make the straight white male character who was the hero in the comics. They make him into the villain.
Turn him into a dick. Yep.
Yeah, they do not allow the platonic, or not the platonic, the traditional, cisgender characters of Cersei and Icarus to actually have a proper relationship. They split up. They don't work out. He becomes a villain. He commits suicide. It's really crazy.
Yep.
I mean, it seems obvious to me that they don't want you to look at a normal, like, healthy family as I say normal, but like a, biologically appropriate family as anything good. That's the bad guy.
Weaponized virtue, brother.
Yeah.
Makes me wonder if Sophia is the plus sign at the end of LGBTQ plus, or also at the end of Disney plus.
What about InnerVerse Plus?
Right.
I named it after like Mysterious Universe Plus is where I copped that
Nice
name for my show from. Gordy listens to MU. He knows what I'm talking about. They're the shit.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, let's not go down the MU rabbit hole.
No, we don't need to. We're already 2 hours deep. We need to move
need to
towards
keep
the
going.
goalpost. Yeah.
So
We're getting there though. This is going really well.
Yeah, man.
I won't let it go too late.
I got a quick thing to share. If you bring me up.
Oh, dude, I already had it.
You were locked and loaded?
Yeah, see, this is what you wanted, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because we haven't talked about the character sprite, really.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say thanks to everyone who's hanging in for our experimental movie analysis show. If you like it, we'll do more of these, and we'll announce at the beginning of the month what movie we're going to do. So you'll have all the way till the end of the month to watch it and think about it.
Yeah.
I'm thinking we'll do Shang-Chi and the 10 Rings next month. What do you think, Gordy?
I
We got into the 10
I need
Rings.
to watch it again, dude.
I haven't seen it, but this is the only thing that will make me watch movies is if I'm doing something productive out of it. So
good point. So, yeah. So
it took me like 3.5 hours to get through this 2.5 hour movie because of all the pausing and thinking about it.
Yep.
But Michael Wan says that when you watch films, you should look things up as you go. You should take notes and pause and screenshot, and don't like think about it after. Do it during the movie, and I like that approach.
Yeah, it enriches the experience, gives it more depth and dimension for sure. So this scene is when Sprite, she's casting light onto the dome. And I just want to give thanks to L.C. King for sharing this image here
He's in the
earlier
chat.
in the week. Yeah, big up LC King. I totally got this picture from that share that you did. Because right before this scene where she's doing the light show on the roof of the building, right before that, Hephaestus has invented the plow. First, he wanted to invent a steam engine, and the council said, no, that's too much. Make it more simple. And so he reduces, brings them back, and all he gives them is the plow. The plow is Ursa Majora. And Ursa Majora rotates around the North Pole, around Polaris. And so the next moment, right from the plow being up in the sky with Hephaestus, the next scene they go to, they cut to this. And Sprite is reaching up into the heavens and putting on a light show and telling the stories to the huddled masses in that building.
She's giving them the mythology, which is the sky clock and the zodiac.
Yes. And so they are telling us, LC King, you were quite correct, sir, that the idea of in this art, it's Mercury who is holding that pole pointing at Polaris, and Mercury is another character in the film. But we know that they do switches. They do,
look at this character. She is very androgyn. She looks,
yes.
You don't know if it's a boy or a girl at first, honestly.
Yes. And this is where things get a little bit dark and a little bit nefarious. And, I just got to point out that, bless this poor child's heart for being in Hollywood at all. Just bless her heart. And I hope the best for her. But the cup bearer is also a symbol of that region of the heavens. And in old Greek mythology, the cupbearer has a very inappropriate sexual, it's really dark and disgusting shit. And the fact that they're putting this poor child in the role in Hollywood, it kind of breaks my heart to think of what that might actually be disclosing to us. But
no.
Go ahead.
Sorry, LC King just said, and this was just as I was thinking it, that Sprite is heavenly electricity. If you know what a Sprite is in the upper atmosphere, it's been captured a few times, but just the last few years with AWACS planes and high altitude weather data collection, they've been able to capture an actual Sprite. There you go. And they've actually been able to catch them on video now, but this was kind of a myth before. But now we know that, and they don't know what it is, but it splits in the center. Like you see where there's kind of a cloud on the top, and then the lightning kind of coming down from the bottom. It starts at that center point. When you watch these as a video, they split and they go like this, where the cloud, and it's kind of all I see is a tree of life. I mean,
exactly. She's at the top. She's the crown. She's the Keter of my tree of life for that exact reason. Great catch, LC King.
Yeah, thanks, buddy.
That's a great
Nice.
link. Yeah, so I just thought that was really beautiful because, this is really confirming a lot of what the spiders like to weave, is the fact that the sky clock is the ultimate greatest story that's ever been told, the highest story that's ever been told.
I mean, we can't help it. It's self-evident in reality, and we find ourselves talking about subjects. I mean, it happens on my show. It happens on the Weaving Spiders that are fully in line with the sky clock config of that time, whether or not we planned on it. It just goes that way.
Yep. This is why the stories are so starry.
That's good, man. So that's about it for screenshots I actually took from the movie, by the way. I mean, there's more to the film. I feel like someone else was about to say something.
No, I'm good.
The
Okay.
stores, the stars store the stories.
I definitely thought of you though when I watched this, Chance, because we were already had been talking about the cosmic egg and the Titan busting out of the cosmic egg. So blowing the end of this, the giant celestial.
We already
comes
actually
out
talked
of it.
about that. We talked about the end at the beginning anyway.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yep.
But no, that cosmic. Well, here's what I think is interesting about that cosmic egg. This was a note that I took. How did they decide to defeat it originally? What's the original plan? They were going to use Druig to put it back to sleep. And I think there's a direct quote. One of the characters says, "It's time to put a god to sleep." And it made me think of, if reality is the dream of God, if God wakes up, are humans gone?
Wow.
Is that the metaphor that they're saying? Like, is ascension dangerous to that degree?
Yes. And even that's a great question, Chance.
And then how are they going to approach this? Unimind. They're all going to link their minds together and become one. That is God mind. That is God waking up. Unimind.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And that also is another callback to Zardoz, where they all go to level 2 together. The Eternals in Zardoz, they call it level 2, and they enter some like trance meditation, and they're all one mind together. But they call it Unimind in this movie.
Also, when I think of Druig, I think of Scientology a lot, and the using drugs to alter people's worldview in a major way. So the fact that Druig was going to put the thing to sleep, that could be speaking to the cowpoke agenda. It could be speaking to the meth agenda. A lot of dark shadows are reflected through Druig. So that's very interesting. You pointed that out.
Yeah. So that's about the end of my notes for this movie. I know there's plenty more in it, and we don't have to stop here if there's more you guys want to dig into from the film.
Gordon,
but the film ends with them turning it to stone. Cersei turns it to stone. They kill the last deviant. I mean, there's plenty more things in the movie, but to watch it yourself with our thoughts in your mind, and you probably find all kinds of interesting connections.
Yeah, like 88. What was it? 88D?
8 AD.
8 AD is 880.
That was a good catch.
That's amazing.
And all you can eat buffet is an infinite buffet. Infinite 8. 8 is an infinity sign sideways.
Right.
This stuff is crazy.
That's what the 64 is. It's infinity times infinity. That's why it works as the framework foundation for so many systems that are vast, like our DNA, like our computers, etc.
Yeah.
I Ching.
And Metamorphosis is an all-you-can-eat buffet of storytelling. They've resurrected all of that, and now they've
so true.
They brought it back to life, and they're just recycling over and over to infinity with all these Metamorphosis stories.
Yeah, it makes you wonder: is that what they are doing, or is that the only thing that can be done? Are there any stories other than the story in the sky? Is there anything else? If life is a fractal that's self-similar across scales, then maybe that really is. It's both everything, and it's a limitation too. It's our firmament. It's the barrier we can't cross. It's the shell of this egg waiting to hatch through.
Ovid means egg.
Exactly. Makes you wonder, what are we really on the verge of in this reality?
Gordy's been calling it. He's been saying the Titans are waking up.
I don't know, man. It's just a feeling.
Yeah.
It's what I hear.
We are the Titans.
Just being quiet and listening. It's just kind of whispering.
Yeah.
And you hear these little things and things like this. Little things that stick out to you because we're not paying attention. Did we discuss yet the addictive phone thing in the movie yet?
Drop it, homie. Drop it. Go for
Well,
it.
it's just obvious. Twice in it, just out of the blue, they say that your phone is making you addicted to it, or I don't know if they stop just short of saying it's controlling you. They're saying you're addicted to it. You're addicted to it twice in this movie. Actually, maybe 3 times. I have to watch it again. But
Did it twice. Once while they're on the plane. They're on Kingo's plane, and Cersei's looking at the phone, and Icarus comes up to her and says, Sprite tells me you're addicted to that thing. And then later in the film, once Sprite becomes human, maybe there's something about that that's relevant. Sprite gets turned into a human because she wants to grow up.
Yes,
And
by Cersei, who was the first one who had the phone. So it's like a passing it on.
And then Sprite gets the addiction to the phone once she's a human.
right. And we know what addictions do. They control us.
Yep.
I'm chewing the stupid gum.
Still better than the
Yeah.
Exactly.
smoke. Yeah.
So
I
I
feel for you, bro.
I got just a couple things to add to that.
I want to say about the Cersei real quick, the Sprite thing before I lose it.
Yep.
Her power is to cast illusions with light that cause people to behave the way she wants them to behave, to modify their behavior. The irony is that when she loses that power, the tables turn, and now she is being manipulated by the illusory light.
Full circle, baby. Nice.
Full Cersei.
Full Cersei. So one of the opening scenes where Cersei, she gives a golden dagger to a child. It's at first it's like just a stone dagger and wood. Well, she transmutes it into a golden dagger and hands it to this child. And then the next scene, she's in modern times looking up at a giant billboard that is like a museum is putting that golden dagger on display. And it says artifacts that have changed the course of humanity. And Cersei is holding a cell phone up to it and capturing its image in her cell phone. That is an artifact that will change the course of humanity.
Nice.
And so we start with the golden dagger in the phone. And then we go through the movie and Cersei transmutes Sprite into a human. And now Sprite is, like you said, has the inversion of the light illusion, giving her addiction. And then we go just a couple minutes past the credits to that hidden closing scene at the end. And here we have the ebony blade becomes the artifact that has changed the course of history. And so what is implied is that we're about to go into a more occulted, more hidden history that they're going to take the story in the next sequel.
The ebony blade has the phrase, since we're connecting the ebony blade and artifacts in the cell phone, on it there's Latin words carved in the box. Mors mihi lucrum means death is my reward.
And I got in on the Google Translate, and I had fun with this, but I found a ton of acronyms in that death is my reward. Actually, the more accurate translation is, let's see, death is a small reward. Or death is a mini gain, a small gain. But I noticed when I looked at it that in reverse, it just reads very interestingly in reverse. It has almost the word Mercury when you read that. Here, I have the picture. Can you pull me up? So you see MURCU. And that stood out to me right away because it's almost the word Mercury. And so I entered, MUCU, linum, merculinum, srom. And so I started playing with these. Let's see. I'm not sure how to do this.
Just tell me if you have another thing to show.
Okay, I get you can pull me up again.
Okay.
This will show just some of my work that I shared with you guys in Telegram. I just started playing with that in reverse. Mercury smile om is Mercury smiles at all. And we know he loves to communicate jokes. And then you can also, you pull out the R, M, and the N, and you get Los Mercury Me, which means I killed them. And I was thinking about the RMN meaning like Romanian. And so when you look up, pull the RMN and you play with it in Romanian, you can get I'm getting dirty. Me, Mercury Soul in Romanian means I'm getting dirty. And then Mercury Minlos in Arabic means Mercure from Manlus. And then here we got the smear death. These are just some of the random anagrams that I was able to pull out of that little
Random
phrase.
grams.
Random grams, because Mercury loves to mess around with the message. So that's all I got there.
We're at 2:22 with 22 in the stream.
Oh shoot, we got to quit in 15 seconds.
All right, I'm
Okay,
shutting
bye.
her down.
Okay, bye.
You know what? I haven't looked at the Rockfin side. Oh, cool. There's been a little bit of chat there. Yeah, this has been really fun. I'm ready to wrap it up if you guys are. I think that we've covered the movie well. And, you know, it's about in the time zone mark amount of time I was hoping we would attain. A little over 2 hours is what I was hoping for. Would like to do this again. So let's plan on it last Sunday of the month. See if we can do like a dozen of these this year.
That'd be cool.
Yeah,
I
once a
can't
month.
really put on more to my plate than that, but I really enjoy it. And I think that's reasonable, not too much, enough to be excited for it when it comes around again, you know?
big time. Yeah, this was great.
I would love to do Doctor Strange. If we
Oh, snap. You know what? We could bring, on the next one. I mean, we'll work it all. We got plenty of time to work it out. But, you know, in the next one, we can start. I can bring in my, I think maybe I'll start developing my historical counterpart theory. And we can bring how, you know, Peter Parker and Spider-Man is
Young and
Carl
Philemon.
and Philemon.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm pretty sure I got a big one for Doctor Strange. I'll save it. I'll save it. I'll keep it on the down low. We'll start bringing that to life. Yeah,
Sounds
Cool.
good.
nice.
Yeah, I want to thank everyone that checked this out, and a lot of you stayed from the beginning. That's really cool. We had a good turnout, and this was a lot of fun. We'll do it again.
This was a blast. Thanks, fellas. Much love, guys.
Thank you, Gordy.
Thank you, guys.
Gabriel. And you know what? We got 3 Gs. We got 777. We got Garton, Gabriel, Gordy. Anyway, 777.
Just that
All
goes
right.
to last night, but we got to cut it. We got to cut
Now
it.
it's at it's at 224 with 24 watching. All right.
All right, guys.
Later.
Thank you, Chance. Thanks for doing this. This is fun.
Loved it.
Chance. Much
Bye,
love,
guys.
guys.
Love you, brothers. Bye.
Peace.